Hello, everyone. Joining from all over the world, I think. Welcome at this webinar, Company Setup in Panama, the Smart Guide for International Companies. I'm Remco de Bruin of Digitude Panama, organizing this webinar together with the Castro and Robles lawyers here in Panama. Digitude is an international business development agencies, and we help companies, foreign companies, especially European companies, with all kinds of business development services like market research, online regional strategy, events for visibility, matchmaking, making appointments, finding business partners, and also company setup, which we do together with our partner, the Castro and Robles, which have already set up many companies for here in Panama for European companies, being it headquarters or subsidiaries. Just quickly going through the program of this webinar. First, do a quick introduction round of the speakers to this webinar. Then Alberto will take over and tell you all the ins and outs of setting up a company in Panama. Then we found a Dutch entrepreneur or business director of a business here that has set up his headquarters here in Panama in his company. So you get some practice insights from how he did it and what he ran into and tips. And after that, there will be time for your own questions. So we'll get to that later with how you can do that. But you'll be able to send questions, or we'll give you voice to ask them live. But that will be after the last speaker. Just make a quick round between the different the speakers that we have, and we'll start with Alberto. Could you please introduce yourself? Thank you for being here.
Many thanks, Remco, and very happy to be here. My name is Alberto Lopez. I'm a partner at the Castro Robles, like Remco mentioned. It's a law firm established in Panama, one of the oldest, and we are very happy to have been helping foreign companies set up their shop in Panama. All sorts of companies, maritime, logistics, or based on commercial activities. No, I'll try to be less legal and more practical, because I understand that from your standpoint, you are interested in seeing and learning how you can make your business set up operations and start working in Panama, not really interested in the legal details. No? So I'll try to be very practical, although we have Bart here who will give you a very detailed practical overview of his experience in Panama. No? He started in very difficult times during the pandemic, and he's still here, so he has done quite wonderfully. I'll start with the main question that we get asked more often is, what or which entity should I use to set up my business in Panama? The quick question is, it makes no difference. Panama has a very flexible and wide legal regime in terms of allowing juridical entities to perform business in Panama. So we usually incorporate local entities, Panamanian corporations, you call it in Spanish, sociedades anónimas. But sometimes due to compliance reasons or other corporate guidelines, the companies, the multinational companies, do not want to set up new structures. That's perfectly fine. We can still work with branching. That means registering your foreign entity. Let's say, for example, a company from any European country, from the US, from Asia. We can register that company as a foreign company in Panama. And we can set up a subsidiary or a branch also from that foreign company. So the catalog, the options are quite ample. You have many choices. We do have also limited liability companies. and which are preferred for some jurisdictions. And for instance, the U.S. companies like a lot to use LLCs. But in practice, Panamanian corporations are also somehow limited in terms of liability. So at the end, the difference are very subtle, and we have different options to comply with your compliance requirements from your headquarters. We also have other entities, juridical entities, NGOs, which we can register in Panama, partnerships or private interest foundations, which are not really aimed for businesses. But in some cases, we have had approaches by international NGOs that want to set up an office in Panama. It's not exactly a business, but it's sort of nationalizing a foreign or international operation in Panama. So that's pretty much in terms of the choice of legal entities that you can use in Panama. Time and cost. I recently read a report stating that Panama is among the less competitive jurisdictions in Latin America in terms of time invested to set up a company. I was quite surprised to read that, because that's not our experience. As a matter of fact, as lawyers, we do this very often, and I find it quite agile and quick. So I was quite surprised, and I would really like to inquire more in terms of where that information came from, because usually we can set up a corporation in 4 to 7 working days. That's the practice. It's very quick. I have to say, from the moment we get all the requirements and the paperwork from the clients, which is often one of the obstacles that we face, is that we now have very strong compliance and know your client requirements, which we have to comply with. And sometimes clients get a little bit annoyed or upset because they feel that things are not moving that quick, but they are not fulfilling all the requirements in terms of identifying the final beneficiaries, the shareholders, and documenting the identity of the officers and directors. So I'm very careful in saying that we can set up your company in 4 to 7 days from the moment we get all the requirements completed. And how quick the client fulfills the requirement, well, that's up to each client. Some companies are more agile, some others take more time, but in practice, I would say worst case scenario, it never goes beyond 50 weeks in practice. And registering the branch, exactly the same. The only thing that delays the process a little bit more is the translations, the cost of translations, because obviously company coming from abroad will need to translate the documents to Spanish. Cost of translation, the time involved in translation, is the only additional cost or expense that will be added. Here you can see on the screen pretty much the approximate cost. It varies depending on the client's requirements. Some clients rather have very long articles of incorporation, very detailed. Some others, they just want to have a very compact extract. And it's up to each client. Bank account opening, it goes exactly the same. We need to comply. The banks have very strong know your client and due diligence procedures in place. And it's a little bit annoying, but it has to be approved by the compliance officer. Usually we have an account open in under a month. It varies from bank to bank, but under a month, you can have your bank account open, approved by compliance officers and everything. And Panama has around 90 banks, so plenty to choose from. They all have very good online banking platforms and very agile wire transfer facilities, which you can operate from abroad. So it's very convenient for clients engaged in international transactions. And tax considerations. This is one of the most frequent questions that we get asked. Why Panama? I think we are all familiar with Panama's strategic location. And in terms of those companies not really involved in fulfillment of cargo or orders, it's very convenient also in terms of connectivity. We have direct flights almost to everywhere in the region, a lot of cities in Latin America and the US. And that gives companies setting up their offices in Panama a very competitive advantage in terms of convenience. But obviously, it also has to go hand in hand with your tax regime. And in the next chart, you will see a general overview of the tax regime in Panama. This is the regular tax regime applicable to companies not operate, persons and companies not operating under any special regime. Individuals in the left column and companies on the right. It's pretty much 25% of your net taxable income. That's after you get all the expenses and the deductions and the tax breaks applied. When you get your net taxable income, then you have to pay 25%. And obviously, I'll go into more details when we get to the special regimes, SAM, EMA, and this is just the general overview applicable in general. Residency and visa options. Panama also has a wide catalog of options. One of the particular visas that we have, and a lot of our clients have been very surprised about this visa, is friendly countries. Panama does give special treatment to friendly countries. And the question more often asked is, what does it take for countries to be considered friendly? And basically, this was a category that was approved by previous governments in terms of which countries we do most business with, or we want more investment to come from, or we feel that their nationals are more friendly towards setting up their offices or second residency in Panama. And it's usually countries that Panama has a strong bonds with historically, for instance, such as Spain, or in terms of investment. But this is mostly individual visas. It doesn't relate to visas under corporate regimes. We have workers' visa in terms of the regular applicable legislation. Any company in Panama may have up to 10% of foreign workers, 10% of their workforce, or 15% if it's technical staff that is not easily available locally, in terms of IT, communications, or I guess in Bart, you are EMA, but if you were not, in terms of engineering or perhaps technical staff involved in your activity, and you can have up to 15%. Even with that general limit, if for some reason you are required to have more than 15%, you can ask the Ministry of Labor for an exemption. You will have to prove that you cannot get that technical labor easily in Panama, and they'll approve it. We had a company that was setting up an operation in Panama, a new operation. There was no other similar operation in Panama, and pretty much they needed like 90% of the workforce foreign, because there was simply no workforce in Panama, local labor specialized in that activity. We met with the Minister of Work, Labor, Ministerio de Trabajo. They asked us to publish, they have a database where they announce work positions. We announced them in the ministry's database. 2-3 weeks passed, no one applied because no one had the know-how. And once the ministry was satisfied that there was no local labor available, they allowed for the exemption. With the undertaking, that exemption has a deadline. We were given the exemption on a yearly renewal basis on the grounds that the company undertakes to hire and train local labor, which is at the end is the target of the government, is to have local labor trained. But we applied, we presented the program. It's a 3-year program where it's scaling down. For the first year is 90%. Second year it goes down to something like 60. Third year is 40%, and then onwards under the 15% regular regime. And it was approved and it's ongoing now. So the authorities tend to be very accommodating when foreign companies, especially in innovation areas, are setting up their offices in Panama. We have also special regime visas, which I'll go into details further on, mostly referring to special economic zones and SEM and EMA, and other types of visas, which are student visas or oh, sorry, I missed self-solvency visas, which are for persons that mostly wish to retire or spend time in Panama. They can prove that they have economic self-sufficiency. They buy a property or placed a bank deposit in Panama in different categories of investment, and they get a visa while their property or their funds are in local banks. And obviously, for each visa, well, you will need a work permit, which is given by the Ministry of Labor. Now I'll go into the special zone regimes. The Panama has a lot of special regimes. In my opinion, too many. We try to, the governments in general have tried to cater to international requirements from different sectors by setting up different regimes. In some cases, that creates a little bit of confusion. My opinion is that at some point, the authorities should sit down and try to simplify the options, because not necessarily having more options or too many options is better. No? We'll need to, at some point, try to simplify and see which regimes can be considered equivalent and unify them. No? Because simply we have too many. But the main ones that we get asked more often are City of Knowledge, Ciudad del Saber, Panama Pacifico, and we get asked plenty about SEM, a special regime for multinational corporations headquarters. EMA, which is manufacturing special regime for multinational companies, which is very similar to SEM. They go hand to hand. And free zones, many of our free zones have special economic and immigration and labor regimes. Next, please. City of Knowledge, it's basically, it used to be a US military base that was reassigned and repurposed to be like a business incubator. It's meant to be headquarters for intellectual and scientific and research work, but it's pretty much open to all sorts of companies. It's usually preferred for multinational and NGOs organisms, but it's also the preferred choice for small companies that are trying to develop or grow into international platforms. No? It's mostly aimed for offices due to its characteristics. It doesn't have strong logistics or warehousing or commercial areas. It's mostly for offices. But it does have a lot of advantages. It presents a one-stop shop, ventanilla única, which is pretty much one government entity where you can do all of your legal paperwork, immigration, work permits, and all sorts of requirements there. Among the tax benefits are import, VAT, and which is the good and service tax, exemptions, and on the purchase of your goods and services required to operate. And there is no remittance tax levied on the remittances to abroad. Uh, it is very popular. It was up to a couple of years ago. It was a little bit unknown. I think it was not being publicized, or perhaps people did not know about it. It was very used and popular between NGOs. We have a lot of officers there from the United Nations and other international organisms, but it's now becoming more and more attractive to small companies trying to land in the region. Uh, Immigration benefits, it gives you a permanent resident visa for 5 years for all foreign executives and the dependents. So it's very convenient in terms of landing in Panama. Panama Pacifico is the second most popular regime that we are asked about. And I'm not referring to the largest, because Colón Free Zone, in terms of the economic impact, still the largest. But the new companies, I think Colón Free Zone is almost reaching its full capacity in terms of warehousing and office space. And from what I've been told, companies are having a hard time getting some space in Colón Free Zone. So they are looking to other options. And particularly companies that do not wish to operate in Colón, they wish, or for some reason, they have to be closer to Panama City. So they are choosing Panama Pacifico because Panama Pacifico presents a lot of advantages. It also, in addition to having industrial infrastructure and warehousing, it also has very well-planned and very convenient office spaces. And it has very close residential areas that have been specially purposed and planned to go hand in hand with the industrial and commercial part. So a lot of companies are looking at a very convenient facility of Panama Pacifico for having their offices and their staff living basically next to their workplace. You save a lot of time in transportation, and it's still very close, relatively close to Panama City. You just have to cross the bridge. Right now, there's a bit of a traffic problem because there's a lot of works ongoing in terms of expanding the road, and they are building a second bridge, also the third line of the metro. But I think in a couple of years, when all of these infrastructure works are finished, it's going to be very, very convenient. It's going to be very accessible and easy to get in and out of. So it's very convenient. It also has the exemptions on the VAT, and which is the good and service tax for your goods and services required to operate, and also the remittance tax exemption. It has also a one-stop shop office where you can do all of your paperwork involved before government agencies, and has labor incentives, flexible limits on foreign workers, and it also has immigration benefits. It has special visas for workers and their dependents and their relatives. So it's very popular for companies more involved that require warehousing or industrial areas now. Now I'll get into the SEM license, which is also very popular. The SEM license is aimed at multinational companies rendering services to their own economic group. It's basically your back office. The purpose of the SEM license is to have multinational companies set up their back office in Panama to support or render services to their own group. It does not allow you to engage in commercial activities directly with consumers. Your clients are meant to be your own subsidiaries or holding or sister companies. It gives you the advantage. It has the very attractive advantage of allowing you to set up your office anywhere in the country. You don't have to be in a special economic zone. You can be in Panama Pacifico, for example, or you can be in Costa del Este, in the middle of Panama City, anywhere, and you're still covered by the same regime. The requirement is basically to have that the group, because we're talking about a multinational company, that the group has assets in excess of $200 million, or that you render services to at least 7 affiliate companies within your group. One of the most common activities that some multinational companies set up in Panama is basically their accounting and administrative offices. Basically, all of their internal processes, compliance, auditing, accounting, all of that takes place in Panama. It's very convenient in terms of immigration because it has no limits on how many foreigners you can bring to Panama. And for the executives, for the same executive visa holders, it has the advantage that they are not subject to income tax. It's basically very convenient if you are working for a multinational company and you get reassigned to Panama. Basically, you get to bring all of your personal belongings tax-free. You get a special tax break in buying your car here in Panama, and you pay no income tax or Social Security. You do have to have a private health insurance, but the cost is, most companies already have a private health insurance plan, international, so it's not really usually a burden on the executive, but you get your salary pretty much intact, no subject to income or Social Security discounts. So it's very attractive. It's very competitive for the business executive. And as I mentioned, no limit on the number of foreigners. It has a specialized office at the Ministry of Commerce. I think Janet Granados is one of the participants in the webinar. I have to say, my experience with the SAM office in the Ministry of Commerce has been wonderful. They always help. You can ask for a meeting. They meet with you. They tell you the requirements. You present your company's activities. They give you guidance. They tell you what you can do, what you cannot do, how to do it. And they give you constant support. It's not one of these cases where you get your license and you disconnect from the government. No, they give you follow-up and constant follow-up. And they visit you. They check on you periodically. And you can tell them the good and the bad, what obstacles you are facing. Sometimes things don't go as smooth as they're supposed to with some government entities. They help you with other government entities. I have to say it's a very valuable support that the Ministry of Commerce gives to the SEM companies. Because obviously, as country, as the government, we want the SEM companies to be here to develop their business, to be happy. No? Some SEM companies that set up their offices in Panama, after they start operating, they notice that they can, or there's business opportunities in the region. And they have gone into establishing a separate, it has to be a separate, it cannot go under your SEM license. They establish a separate company for commercial activities. But that's one of the beauties of landing in Panama. You discover and develop new business opportunities now. And after SEM, which became very popular, the government thought, okay, why don't we do the same with manufacturing? Because obviously the government wants to create more employment in Panama. And that's when they enacted the EMA law. EMA is pretty much the same as the SEM, but the difference is that EMA is aimed at manufacturing companies, multinational companies that want to set up some sort of manufacturing facility in Panama. It has the same benefits. It's pretty much the same process to get your license. And as a matter of fact, I just remember that Bart here was the first EMA approved by the government. So Bart can tell you firsthand about the EMA license and how is it going in Panama. And obviously the purpose of having the SEMs and the EMAs in Panama, as I mentioned, is to have local workforce trained and hired in Panama. And I won't mention specific companies, but I know of that most SEMs, instance one of them from the Netherlands, when they started here in Panama, they had like 70% of foreign labor from Venezuela, Colombia, and the Netherlands. And now they are down to 30%. The 70% is Panamanian and 30% is foreign. Because over time, they train people, they find local workforce. And at the end, it's more convenient for the SEM. If you have a skilled local workforce, is more convenient to have in terms of salaries and access to labor. It's more convenient to have local labor. No? So Panama as a country is benefiting from having these foreign companies learning the know-how, and the transfer of knowledge that we're getting is very valuable for the country. No? I hope this gives you an overview of different options and different regimes that you can use to establish your company in Panama. And I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you, Remco.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Very clear, and I hope it will help the attendees. Of course, afterwards and after Bart, they can ask you their questions they might have. First, we're gonna do a quick poll. Like Panama has a few, as you also referred to, a few advantages. There's a lot of benefits to be here, and that's also why there are so many headquarters, almost 200 SEMs, for example, in Panama already from all over the world. And this has various reasons. For example, the strategic locations and the connectivity. Talking about air, you can get anywhere with Copa, direct flight with KLM to the Netherlands and to Paris with Air France, and so on. So connectivity is an important consideration. You have a dollarized economy, stable economic and political climate in Panama. And also, of course, the incentives like the taxes, migration, the visas that these special regimes and zones have. And as a logistical hub, you have the Colón Free Zone, the second biggest in the world, which has its advantages too, as Alberto referred to. So there are many reasons why there is such a clustering of multinational companies here. And we prepared a quick poll because we would like to see from our attendees in this webinar, what is your reason that you are, or main reason that you are considering setting up a company here. So you can vote on the different options. There are, what is the main reason that you are considering setting up a company here in Panama? So these were the results of the poll. So it's a bit on different views. The location and taxes, and well, it's quite equal. The dollar as a currency and talent and workforce availability were the ones that were voted. But some say something else. And the ones that say something else, maybe it's because it's a combination of different factors that they consider important, and not just one main one, but they consider many factors as their main factors. So thanks for that. Now we'll go to a Dutch regional director that I already have the privilege of knowing for very long when I came to Panama, and he will can shortly introduce himself, and after that I'll ask him a couple of questions on the practice of setting up a regional office here in Panama. So Bart, I'd like to give the floor to you for a short introduction about yourself and your company.
Yeah, thanks Remco, and thanks Alberto for the interesting presentation. Yeah, my name is Bart van der Hamer, living in Panama now for over 4 years. We're active in the maritime industry. So our company is a family-owned company with our HQ in Holland. So our main office is in Holland. but only 3% of our turnover comes from Holland. So we're quite a global group. Yeah, 5 years ago, right after the pandemic, I came to Panama for the first time. In general, we always try to follow our clients, and one of our clients, a big client that we service, used to have his office in Miami. And it happened to be also a Dutch CEO. So we spoke in Rotterdam on the lake during COVID, because we were all stuck in Holland at that time. And he kind of started the fire about Panama, and especially all the possibilities it gives you regionally. So yeah, after a couple of weeks in Panama and discussing it with a lot of people, with the embassy, with the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, with lawyers, with accountants, with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we decided to move forward. And now we've been here more than 4 years. We have 3 entities in Panama. So one entity is under the EMA, or the SEM regime. One entity is a local entity for local business. And then we also brought in another sister company specialized in controls and electronics for ships. And we just opened this entity a year ago. So in short, but we're really happy here. My family is happy. The good thing about Panama also, there's a lot of international schools which are highly recognized throughout the world. So it's a good base.
Thanks, Bart. And so yeah, you've done a lot in setting up entities and are here already for a while. Could you tell us something about the steps that you took to set up your company when you came here, and what choices did you need to make, important choices, when you were setting up a company? So please, if you could go into that for our viewers.
Yeah, no, I think most important is you have to do research. So I would always advise go to Panama if you're interested. Spend a couple of weeks here and just try to get to know people. Luckily, we already, there's quite a few Dutch companies here. So the first thing I did is just spoke with Dutch companies that did it before me. There's quite a few dredging companies active, and they've been around for a long time. Of course, also given the history with the Panama Canal and the constant dredging that goes on there. And then talk to the embassy. And they will connect you also with good lawyers. In our case, it was also Alberto. But if you go to 5 companies and they all talk about the same lawyer and the same accountant, it's a smart idea to probably go with those people. And then talk to the ministry. What Alberto also mentioned is and to me that was quite surprising, especially in the beginning, that the help from the Ministry of Industry and Commerce is like nothing else I've experienced before. So they're really here to help you, and they keep helping you. So every year we had 2 or 3 meetings with the ministry. They're really there to make sure you will be successful. And then with a good lawyer, choosing what legal entity you use is what Alberto mentioned. There's not a lot of different. We chose for the SA for the because that just aligns with our it aligns with let's say the group and the other companies. And but you have to take into account that Panama is quite transparent, so there's a lot of info you need to turn over, and I can imagine for some companies that's maybe a challenge. And it took us a little bit of time, but finally we were able to successfully open up the company. So my number 1 tip is find a good local lawyer, find a good local accountant, and really stay close to the local Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and but also the embassy and the Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Bart. Then, so although Panama is the easiest country in the rankings to set up a company in Latin America, there also probably you encountered some challenges or difficulties. If you can name something when you came here and set up your company, what did you think was the most difficult things, and how did you find your way around it or manage to arrange?
I think for us the most difficult thing, but again, we just set up another company and it was a lot easier because we have the relationships in place, but was opening up a bank account. And just the sheer amount of info that they need is sometimes quite challenging to obtain. And that took some time, but again, after a while, you start to get to know people, and there's, you start to get to know people from the banks, and then it really speeds up the process. So as soon as they know you, it helps a lot. But for us, the most difficult thing was setting up a bank account, and it also took us a bit longer than a month. But again, the last company we set up, it went quickly because of course they already know us now. So but that was for us the most challenging part in the beginning, just because of the amount of paperwork we need to hand over to the bank. And to me that was also surprising, because you hear this, Panama has the name, especially in the past. I think it's a lot better now about the Panama Papers and financial transactions, but it's much more difficult to open up a bank account in Panama than it is in the Netherlands. So that also says something about transparency and rules and regulations.
Bart, thanks for that. Yeah, I have exactly the same experience. When I set up Digitude here, the bank account was also the most difficult thing. It took very long. The company setup was very easy. I also have a SA, but the bank account, it's so precise, everything, the documentation, and it just takes a long time. The commercial bank account, if you're like for just as a person, if you want your own personal bank account, that's very easy. But the commercial
my personal was within a week, but the company
exactly.
Yeah.
And it is actually strange because Panama is known as a banking hub. It has 60 banks, over 60 banks here, and exactly that is the most difficult thing to do here. So they would take that into account. Okay, then for the last question, you already said it a little bit, but if the companies here that are attending this webinar, they are thinking about setting up either a headquarters or just a subsidiary here. What three, let's say, golden tips, golden rules would you give to them as most important? Okay, this, and this you need to do, and then you will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, to become to have a successful business here, I assume you mean, right?
Yeah, to set up, mostly to set up the business, to successfully set up their business and make it running, operating. What are the three, like, let's say, most important things you think they would need to do to help that process?
Yeah, well, I mean, we already mentioned this a couple of times. Just find the right people around you to help you support with opening up your business. And then in general, I would say, use or leverage Panama's location. It really is the hub to the Americas, much more than I anticipated in the beginning. The ease of doing business, the dollarized economy, the stable political system, the Panama Canal, the free zone. So first, I would say use the location and the incentives that Panama has to offer. My second tip would be invest in local people. I know Alberto also mentioned this before, but I think that's also key to success, at least for us, is we've been able to find good local people. We train them. Okay, it takes quite a bit of time, but it's worth it, and it also gives a new dimension to a company globally. We have over, I think, 28 nationalities within our company. And in essence, Panama is also in a way a melting pot of cultures and nationalities. There's of course a lot of people from Colombia and Venezuela that are now Panamanian. So that it really is a nice addition to the team and to the performance of the teams. And again, number three is compliancy and partnerships. Just make sure you're in line. Also, we teamed up with local companies that's been here for many years, which also helped us develop the business itself. So I think that would be my three tips.
Thanks very much, Bart, for sharing this experience. I think the audience will also have their questions that are maybe not addressed yet by the speakers, more individual situations or just general questions to either Alberto, Bart, or maybe me. So please feel free to ask your questions to us, and we'll be happy to answer them to you online. In the meantime, I have a question to Alberto. That is it possible to combine different ways? Because we talked about SEM, we talked about the special economic zones. What if you want a SEM in a special economic zone? Is that possible? And what would be the added advantage of do that? Let's say put a SEM in Panama Pacifico, Alberto.
Yes, correct. That's one of the advantages of SEM is that you can be anywhere. And you benefit from, and as a matter of fact, we have quite some SEMs in Panama Pacifico because they want to take the advantage of the logistic setup of Panama Pacific of having the industrial area and the housing area and the commercial area somehow close to each other, but they still want to have their own benefits in terms of SEM. And that's one of the advantages is basically setting up the SEM in Panama Pacifico. You benefit from both regimes, from the convenience of being in the very well-planned logistic area and having a very convenient legal regime like SEM or EMA.
Okay. And there was a question if we will share the presentation and recording later, yeah, and at our YouTube channel. Or later you'll get the slide with our contact details. We'll share the whole webinar, including the slides. For the rest, what would you say, Bart, with when you came here? I think you didn't speak Spanish yet, no? How important is it to, when you come to Panama, you set up your company, you managed fine, but how important do you think it is to speak Spanish in Panama when you start up a company and also to do business here?
Yeah, that is a really good question because my Spanish is still, after 5 years of being here, it's still well, not great. I mean, I read the paper every day to try to practice, and I saw also a webinar a couple of months ago or years ago that, number one is you need to learn Spanish, and of course it's helpful, and the basic things I can do, but once it starts to get more in depth or technically more in depth, I have to do it in English. But luckily, Panama has a lot of people that speak English. We're in the maritime industry, which I would say 90% of the people we work with speak English, so it hasn't really worked against me, although it's more my own feeling I need to do a better job in learning Spanish. But again, my kids and my wife, they speak it fluently, which is frustrating sometimes, especially if you're in a grocery store with your daughter and she tends to always improve you. But yeah, it's helpful for sure. It also shows that you're committed. So I really try my best, but it's for sure it's helpful, and I need to do a better job with it. Yeah.
Oh, you still managed, but yeah,
I still manage, and in the restaurants and in bars, I'm okay. So no worries. Una más.
Thanks for that. We have some questions coming in from attendees, so I'll start with the first one from a turbocharger company in Brazil, Mr. Walker Gomez Silva. He is asking, so he wants to set up a turbocharging, repairing, and maintenance company in the region. So what would you, for the maritime area, what would you advise him to do? So turbocharger, repairing, and maintenance companies, what the opportunities would be for him in Panama and to set up a company here. To Bart.
Okay.
Yeah, I also thought it would be you, Alberto. No, and I happen to know this gentleman. As you might know, we also set up an office in Brazil, and we worked a lot with him. And I know he started his own business now in Brazil. And I think Panama is an interesting place to open up a repair company. I think we're living proof of it. The shipyard here in Balboa, which is quite special in the region, so especially dock number one. I know it's a bit specialistic, but it's a huge dock where a lot of big ships can enter. So the shipyard got FAM time, I would say 3 or 4 years ago. They're always busy, and so for sure there will be opportunities to repair the turbochargers as well. And there's not many. Again, there's more and more maritime companies coming to Panama. There's more and more maritime repair companies coming to Panama. So I think it would be a good opportunity for Walker.
Thank you very much. I hope that satisfies Walker's questions. We have another one for Alberto. A question from Joel Fernandez from Maine Food Processing. How long does it take to open the commercial bank account on average? Because it was mentioned it took a long time. What would you say, Alberto, how long it is on average, and what does it especially depend on how long it takes?
Well, in our experience, it takes under a month. I mean, as a company, as a client, you have to be ready to provide the bank with all the paperwork. They will request from you documents, signatures, identifications, and letters of reference. Most of the time, the problem is that the client is not aware of most of the requirements until they actually go to the bank. And then the bank pulls out a list of requirements, and then they start to gather all the requirements. And that's where they get a little bit impatient. But usually we tell the clients from day one, hey, you will be asked for this. And they start procuring those documents before we go to the bank. So by the time we go to the bank, we already have most of the requirements. So it's just a matter of obtaining 1 or 2 additional documents, and that's pretty much it. The banks in Panama, as Bart mentioned, we have strong compliance procedures. The banks need to submit your application to a committee. It first goes through the compliance officer that reviews. They do an investigation on you on open sources, basically the specialized software that lists companies being blacklisted or in sanctions list, OFAC or European sanctions list, UN sanctions list. And they check for the company and the officers or directors, what is known as personas asociadas. Once they are satisfied that you are not on any list or being sanctioned for trading with North Korea, Iran, for example, these are international sanctions, and they approve it and they pass it to the committee. The committee then reviews your application. They confirm that you are in fact an international company setting up their offices in Panama, check the reference letters, and they approve the opening of the account. Process takes, it varies from bank to bank, but it's usually about or under a month.
Thank you, Alberto. That was clear. I think if there are no further questions at the moment, then I think it's also about 10 o'clock. Yeah. I think it's time to close the webinar, but still with a few messages to follow up, because it was a lot of information for everyone. I hope it was very clear. And you heard about the basic processes, types of companies you can set up, and how it is done. So now let's say, hey, maybe you're now convinced Panama is the place for you. You want to set up a company. What is the next step? So what you can do, you can either contact me or Alberto. We work together on this to start, following up. What do I need? What should I do? We can also map out for you the different options you have, because maybe, hey, you're not convinced yet if it should be a regional headquarters or that it should be Panama Pacifico or SM. Do a small study on to see what your options are, what would be best for you. We'll be happy to help you with it, and you can contact us. Our contact details are on our website, and help you further with setting up your company here. From my own experience in setting up a company, it's very easy, very straightforward process, and Panama is an amazing country, very safe. You have the dollar, it has so many advantages. And also the clustering of so many companies here, multinationals that are here together, also helps you. And we all help each other. You have companies like Philips and Heineken here. Even IKEA is now coming to Panama, which is very welcome. There are a lot of companies here, and they also help you. Hey, you did this. How did you do that? You can just ask them, also like Bart do. Ask a little bit around, and well, we'll be happy to help you further with setting up your company here. Alberto did many international companies, and we also speak Spanish. So if you don't speak it, we can help you with that. You can follow our channels. We put them on the slide to find, because we also publish a lot of information on business in Panama, what's happening especially on LinkedIn. And so you can follow a bit what's going on in Panama in business. And about this presentation, the presentation that Alberto gave, and also the whole webinar, what was discussed, you will be able to find it on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that, so you will get an automatic notification when it is online. And that will be in about a week after the editing. We put some good music there. Probably not reggaeton, maybe Dutch techno. We will see. But there you will find all the information that you need. And anything, just contact us, drop us an email if you want to know more and have specific questions you just want to ask us individually. I would like to thank very much Alberto Lopez for sharing his knowledge about setting up companies here, and with him you're in very good hands as a lawyer. There are many lawyers in Panama, but there are few good ones, if I may say. And also Bart, thanks a lot, because you did it. You have your regional headquarters here with a great staff around with expanding, and even from here discovering more Latin American countries and setting up offices there. So you're really one of it is my champions, and thanks for sharing your knowledge, and also thanks to all the entities that were here today, all the international companies joining us. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you here in Panamazing Panama. Thank you very much.